Welcome to a new edition of the City Voice podcast. I am joined by an unlikely combination. I've got Lutz Pfannenstiel, our sporting director, and I've got Matt Sebek, our chief experience officer and first-time guest on the show. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah. So this unlikely combination is because we are here to talk about the fan experience at CITYPARK. It's been a pretty good start from a results perspective, but also from a fan experience perspective. Matt, could you just give the listeners a bit of an overview of your job, because a CXO role is quite unusual in sport?
It's a little new. Last 3 years, we've been building towards what you see out here, and that's the fan experience. And it's really designed to put experience underneath a single department, a single organization, so that no matter where fans engage with the club, there would be a consistency of excellence. So our team ultimately oversees content, creative, social feeds, retail, of course, the stadium experience. So hopefully fans are enjoying it no matter where they hit us from.
And Lutz, the fan experience is obviously important to you. Could you explain your relationship with Matt Sebek, because you've both been here for a long time? I mean, a long time in the grand scheme of a club that's going to be for this summer.
Yeah, fan experience is a big part of the actually I would say of the team on the field as well. So it's not just something off the field; it have a big influence on the field. So how do the fans experience the players, but also how do the players experience the fans? So it's a kind of giving and taking. And so far the experience we all had was an amazing experience. So chief experience officer, it was an amazing experience. I know. I only can tell you, talking to the staff, talking to the players, and also my own kind of view, it definitely had a very positive impact in our whole team culture, because you feel a very, very close connection to the fans, and it's a great experience. So that's fan experience.
And Lutz, you've played all over the world in some of the most passionate leagues on the planet. How does the game day experience at CITYPARK stack up to other leagues, and what would you be able to draw parallels to what it feels like here to, say a league in another country?
Yeah, I think the construction itself, speaks a lot, because it's very tight. You have that certain feel of being very close to the people. I always explain it. If you walk on the field, you can see the faces of people. You don't just see the mass. Like if in a bigger stadium, sometimes you just see like a color, or you see the shirts, or you see hair, but you do not see a facial expression. There you really have a clear view how the people feel, which makes it very intimate and very, very unique. So if I compare it, it's definitely very European, very enthusiastic European style here in the stadium. You always feel you have that support from the stands. It's very loud. I think the way it's built, like a kind of what is it called? Like a hole in the ground, and then the
Cavern, cathedral.
Yeah, the street level is higher up, so it kind of keeps the noise level very, very high. It's a constant kind of threat, I think, for the away team as well. And definitely, when we always talk about building that kind of special ways, if a team comes here and shouldn't feel that welcome, or you have a kind of a unique kind of castle of intimidation for the opponents, I think that works very well so far.
Matt, you work closely with ownership. You work very closely with the architects that built the stadium. Lutz mentioned that there's a bit of a European feel to the vibe in the stadium. Is that by design, or is that a fluke?
Definitely, and I'd add Lutz to that list as well. One of the advantages of having Lutz here so early was that he could impact that design process as well. And while we did our own bit of research, traveling, domestically and globally, looking at other stadiums, borrowing little pieces of ingredients here and there, I don't think anyone at the club's been to more stadiums than Lutz himself. So, the design of the supporter section, but even the game day experience, when to play music and the type of music to pump up the team, he's very involved in those sorts of things. So I'd say definitely, the European clubs that we drew influences from, some of the older stadiums, Fulham's Craven Cottage feels like it's built into the neighborhood. Those sorts of things were definitely a part of the design process very early on, where the architects didn't want it to feel like a UFO landed in the middle of downtown St. Louis, which a lot of modern stadiums feel like. They wanted it to feel like the stadium belongs in this part of downtown St. Louis, and that it felt like a part of the neighborhood. So I think that's where you get a lot of these design aspects, like the open corners and the canopy roof, and all that really comes alive by some of the inspirations that we took on.
Matt, we hosted our first big non-city event in the week. We had the US women's national team. Is there any sort of insider baseball that you can give? Like, how did they feel about the experience? I mean, they travel all around the world. Like, what was that like?
I think, it was jaw-dropping for us to have really the Ireland team come in, and the first time they saw the pitch itself and the stadium, their eyes were wide open. And so that's sort of like outside-in validation. We've been so close to this project for 3+ years now. Of course, we think everything that's going on here is pretty amazing, but to have those outsiders come in that have been all across the world and provide that that level is it was fantastic to hear.
Lutz, you talk up the MLS at every opportunity. You're bullish on the future. When you bring people to this stadium, is it a point of pride to show them about, and does it feel good to have had a thumbprint on this beautiful piece?
Yeah, I mentioned now the Irish team, but when we played Leverkusen end of last year, but now also the first home games, every single sporting director, every single coach, and even a coach like Adrian Heath, who worked in the Premier League and knows the best stadiums in the world. Everybody's super impressed. Everybody's unbelievable, euphoric about how it looks, how the grass is, how the changing rooms. So I think the whole architecture, everything is close to perfection here, and that's the feedback we get. So as Matt mentioned, you see it also from other players and from the other stuff that they are really, really, I would call it overwhelmed to see the facility here.
Matt, you spent nearly 3 years working on this project. We did a lot of work with the supporters. We did a lot of work with the community. Lutz built up an academy, but nothing prepares you for game day one. You just don't know what you're going to get when you throw 22,500 people into a stadium. What are your initial thoughts about how it's gone so far?
It's exceeded every expectation. I mean, I'm born and raised in St. Louis. What attracted me to the club was really that ownership vision to be bigger than soccer. And I think, now that the stadium's open and people have checked it out, they're stopping you in parking lots and grocery stores. They're telling you, what food they ate in the stadium, where they took pictures with their family, who their favorite players are. And so it's those types of things that I think this is starting to impact people's lives and how they spend it with their children and bringing them into this new experience. So I think those are the things that you just can't possibly imagine 3 years ago. And it's been remarkable.
Lutz, the groundwork for the support was laid last year with the successful City 2 run. One of our first games, I think probably 8,000-9,000 people showed up. Are you surprised to see this fan base as passionate after seeing what happened with City 2 last year? No,
not at all. I think that's what we all somehow felt is realistic. That's what will happen. When I look now at the some of the next pro games and I compare to our season last year, I mean, it's completely different. I mean, we had such a strong support, regardless where we played. Slough or in Edwardsville, it was always packed. And now coming here, of course, you can't compare it because it just, is like another dimension. But in the end of the day, looking at the percentage, looking at the way people celebrate, the way pushing the team, it's no different. Just everything was on a smaller scale. And, we talk a lot about being the city in the past, which soccer has such a big influence in the culture. And I think that's just a proof every second weekend we play here. This is what you feel, the vibe. It's not just when I'm coming in 4 or 5 hours before the game into the training facility and the city's full in city red. People are literally everywhere. It's just a vibe. It's a hype. It's a kind of, we're building our own soccer culture now based on that great history the city of St. Louis had. And that's the vibe you're always getting when you're coming into the stadium.
Matt, you're a huge sports fan. St. Louis is a sports city. You've sat at the Cardinals, you've sat at the Blues. What's the difference between what goes on there? Are you surprised that there is a difference? Did you think that it was going to take a while for fans to learn how to be soccer fans?
I thought I did. I thought it would take a while. I thought that for those that have been to a professional soccer game, it's very tribal. It's visceral. There's an energy that the other sports don't have. That the game doesn't stop. You only have a 15-minute halftime. There's elements like that make a true professional soccer game very energetic and exciting. And I thought it would take a while for our fans to embrace that. But, from minute one, and I'd say actually prior, the pregame moment of the Charlotte game, our opener, where we did the full stadium card stunt, I think it was a message to all four sides of the stadium that everybody can participate in this stadium experience. This isn't a single section. And I think people have embraced that head on, and you see, standing, and you see cheering all game, and you see people wanting to follow along and learn the chants. So I was surprised about that people would be so engaged, because I think for the majority, this is their first professional soccer game.
So Lutz, we talk a lot about atmosphere in football. Some players say they hear the crowd, some players say they don't. Do you think net a great atmosphere, a loud atmosphere drives players forward?
100%. It's always a mixture between being supportive, but also it can be hostile. We don't want to be hostile. We still want to be a team which welcomes the opposition team, which welcomes the opposition fans, but then give them a hard time on the field. And I really see that we have here the 12th man. We have here that crowd who can push us forward, who can make the difference. And I always say it's easy to cheer if everything goes well. If you score a goal, everybody cheers. But you're having these little moments in the game and it's not always going that well. And when you see maybe you're 1-0 down, or maybe it's just a period where things are not going 100% in our direction, that's when you hear the crowd, and you should hear the crowd, and they really push you forward, when they give you that extra support to help you to get out of that little negative motion on the field. And that's what we're trying to do by communicating with the fans. There's a lot of communication between the players on the field and the people in the stands. And sometimes when you see the players heating up the crowd, that can help a lot.
Matt, the club's promoted the idea of getting down to the stadium early. Our supporters have their tailgates. Do you think that bringing fans together early creates a bond that influences the atmosphere at the stadium? Is that part of the reason why you're pushing to get fans down early?
Yeah, I think it helps build pride. It builds momentum and energy before kick. I think the insight that we got, and we all know this as football fans, is soccer fans they're notorious for showing up late or right at kick because you're doing other things before you enter the stadium. So we wanted to really create behaviors and incentives that allowed fans to get down here early, and I think people are loving it. First game against Charlotte, 90% of the stadium was already in their seats 30 minutes before a whistle was blown. So they're getting down here, they're eating food, they're listening to music, they're participating in our pregame show. So it's really just getting them ready. I think, the one thing that we've talked to a lot of fans about is, the game itself is so fun, but it's quick, it's fast. We want it to be that best party in town, but it's only 90 minutes. So finding ways to extend that has been a lot of fun for us, but also, to see fans embrace that has been a real joy.
But when he talks about the extension before, I talk about it after the game as well, because here, it's the only football stadium I ever seen where people don't leave. So when we finish the game, and regardless of if we win or we lose, everybody stays. And so far, we always walked around the field with the whole team. Is everybody involved to say thank you to the fans? That's something really unique and special. I've never seen it. It's easy for the supporter section to stay, and the fans and the players, they clapping at each other and say thank you. But here it's the whole stadium, and everybody stays, and you make this whole round, and that's kind of really special. The players absolutely love it.
And it doesn't matter, win or a loss, the fans still stay behind.
So far, I think also after the Minnesota game, which we didn't win, it was the same kind of ritual. Yeah. Maybe there was a few more guys left than at the other games, but still it was pretty full. And the players still decided to take the full round, the full lap. And that's a great way, because that can become like a after-match or post-match ritual for the years to come.
Do you think that there is an opportunity for you and the fans and the players to get closer? Like, do you think that there is an additional sort of ritual that you guys can have at the end of the game? Is that the sort of thing that comes with time?
Yes, things come with time, but of course, I think it's very important to have that communication with the fans, And Bradley Cornell had the idea that some of the fans can come and also watch some of the sessions, and afterwards have a little chat with the coaching staff, a little chat with the players. That's pretty good. And I think it gives you a certain closeness, because right now you see a player with number 10, Löwen, but you know his face, but you never really heard him speaking, I never really saw him close by. That gives you a complete different impression also for younger fans.
Is part of your Twitter persona to bring fans into your process so they understand what's going on and what to expect from a season?
You see, I mean, as we can hear on your accent, you're obviously British, right? And he's obviously not. But in the end of the day, if you go on social media and you compare it to Europe, there is a lot of hate, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of bad vibes on it. And that's so far what I have to say is absolutely amazing here in St. Louis. You don't get that really bad vibes, from the people who support you, from the fans. There's always a very nice way of communicating. There is a way of supporting, which I call it unconditional support. That's so far what I felt, looking what happened to the Blues sometimes. Well, they're not always playing a great season as well, but the fans are there. The fans support them. And I think that is very important. That's also the way to communicate on social media. It's all about respect, and it's all about managing expectations. And after winning 5 in a row, I know some people out there believe it will be 34 in a row. But let's be. We need to go back to be realistic. We need to go back to understand where we came from. We have the smallest player budget in the league. We hardly spend any money on any transfers. And everybody out there, and I think you guys remember very well, expected that we finish last and we win 3 games all season and we are the pushovers. So we said we want to be competitive. And I think even though now look at the last game in Seattle, I think we played a very, very competitive first half and we lost in the end maybe against a better opponent. But that will happen again and that is not a problem. I think it's important to know the expectations, to know where we want to be. We want to build organically a club which is sustainable success, and not just doing something great in the first season. We want to be here for a long time and not just for one season doing great and then disappear somewhere in the no man's land.
Yeah.
So I think that is something we all need to be aware of. And if everybody out there gives 100% every game and fights and grinds, then it's okay if we don't win every game. We want to win every game and we're trying our hardest to win every game, but that's just simply not possible in the world of sports. And that's what I actually call out for the fans. It's easy to support us when we win every game, but also support us if we lose a game or not playing that well, because that's when we need you the most. It's pretty easy to be positive after winning 3-0, but it's not so easy to be positive after getting beaten. And that only works if you work together.
I think we're aligned with that on the business side as well. And like we've talked about it for the last 3 years is if you can create an experience that makes people smile when they're walking in the door and walking out, independent, win, lose or draw, of course, winning is a better environment. Of course, it feels better walking out. But if we can make people feel that moment of energy and pride, it can really help out smooth some of those bumps in the road.
Matt, we've spoken about pre-game, post-game. There is a hype moment that happens. The lights go crazy. Then they drop out. I wondered if you could give us a bit of insight into how did the red lights come about, and what is this kind of new tradition that we've got going on that integrates everybody into the stadium? What's the thinking behind that?
So I'll actually say this was a bit of an accident. When we played Bayer Leverkusen in November, we had a bit of a hiccup pregame before everyone was gates open, everyone floods the stadium, and the overhead lights that shine on the field actually went out, and what was left were just our LED boards on the field and between the upper and lower concourse, and they all went red. And for the people that were in the stadium, some media members, staff, everyone thought it was on purpose because it created this really nice halo and a glow effect. And we wanted to preserve that. So we knew after that we wanted to make something special of that. I'd say what really drove it forward is Lutz over here. He's been known to say the phrase "gateway to hell." And so we wanted to create this moment that, before, the lights come on and the theater is live for 90 minutes, we actually deliberately wanted it to go dark so fans knew that it was about to get real. So that's something that's going to stick for the year. We're going to play with that, keep leaning into it. Fans like it. Fans like taking photos when the lights come on. So love it. How'd you take it, Lutz?
Yeah, it looks great. As you said, it gives you that little bit of a hell feeling. It looks a bit dangerous. It looks a little bit kind of, how you say it, a little bit scary, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
and especially with our color, which is the brightest and nicest color definitely in the league. It just has that certain touch.
Matt, another question for you. We have loud fans. It is an absolute gift to have loud fans so early on. Been to new stadiums all around the world. It takes a long time for fans to get to know each other. So to have noisy fans and to have people from other clubs comment on how loud our fans is like absolutely a gift. What's the club doing to keep that going? Like how do we preserve that? And like, are there any plans in the works there?
Yeah, I mean, this is a newly growing plant. Like we're still figuring things out. Our fans are figuring out. We're still infants at that stage, But I think continuing to nurture that, incentivize fans, play music at the right times, and other times where we need to let the environment breathe on its own and let the supporter group really carry that. So I think what the energy the fans have brought to date has been immense. Some of it unexpected, but we want to continue to encourage that because it's been awesome.
Lutz, do you talk to your players a lot? Are they inspired to play in a way that gets fans excited?
Of course, again, that goes exactly, that's the thing. It goes hand in hand. If you play some very slow, boring passing football, I think the spark doesn't really flow over to the fans. But if you have lots of action, lots of intensity, I think that's what people really react to. And if you see some players like running up and down the line, really tackling, trying to win balls back, trying to overfloat the opponent's half, this is what really makes an impression on the fans that they want to go the extra mile as well. So 100%, I think that our playing style, our philosophy, that high intensity is exactly what the people want to see, what they want to feel. And it kind of, again, that talks to each other. Players talking to the fans and the other way around.
Matt, everybody's getting to know each other in the stadium. It's a brilliant atmosphere, but it would be remiss of us not to talk about one of the debates that's going online at the moment between sitting and standing. And I just wanted to see, like, is there an opinion on this? And it's a nuanced issue. What are the two sides of the debate here that we're wrestling with?
I mean, I think we've been pretty clear that we want this stadium to be a welcoming fan experience, but also one that is very intimidating for away teams to come in and play. So, the standing, again, for us, caught us by surprise. I think it's lovely. It's great. It shows well on TV. Other fans and media have commented on it. For us as a club, we emphasize our fan code of conduct. In the fan code of conduct, there's nothing about sitting or standing, but it does emphasize, be the best of St. Louis, make new friends, take care of each other. So I guess I would just say, as we continue to figure this out as a club, but also as a collective fan base, if you have an issue, like find a member of our guest services staff. If you can't stand for whatever reason, we'll find a place for you to sit. If you are interested in being a conductor and standing all the time and leading cheers, we have a supporter section. But the idea that fans are getting excited and want to stand all game, we want to continue to nurture that because I think it creates an amazing experience.
Lutz, like when I've briefly spoken to you about, being an exceptional neighbor in the stadium, like, do you have thoughts on this?
I mean, Matt said it pretty well. I think it all has to do with respect. So if everybody stands and is happy and the people around you standing as well, that's great. But other people who maybe cannot stand or don't want to sit down or they have to sit down, it's not fair to them if they're basically sitting down and they don't see anything because they're also just the same members of the fan groups who coming in here and support us. So I think it's just about how you deal with the situation, how you communicate. And if you see that there's 10 people behind sitting, then maybe it's a good idea to have a communication and try to figure a way out how it is. So it's all about how to deal with it and how to talk to each other. So again, you put it, there is no way you have to sit or you have to stand. I think it's just in certain areas it will be a little bit different, and just turn around and feel for yourself. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily enjoy if I sit down and there's 200 people in front of me standing because I can go home and watch it on TV. So it's all about to have a good discussion.
And Matt, if fans have exhausted, negotiating with those around them and it's difficult, what should they do in that situation?
Yeah, I think really there's two ways. One, a member of our guest services staff, they're everywhere. every section, every concourse, you can find them. That is the best path. Do not escalate to other fans. The other one is, in our app, which most of our fans have, there's a get help button that, whether you're looking for a receipt from a concession stand or you need to talk about some, behavior you'd like to speak to someone about, that will go direct to our staff. We're monitoring it every game like crazy. So those are the two best ways. Anytime you need help, go find it.
Brilliant. Lutz, we've got a big game this weekend against a team in form. What's your message for the weekend to the fans in the stadium, and what are your hopes for the game?
My hope is that we stick to our principles, that we playing well, that we fighting on the field for each other. Cincinnati, interesting story, because everybody spoke about Cincinnati just 2 years ago as an expansion team who things didn't go too well, and now suddenly the tables have turned tremendously. And welcoming also Pat Noonan, the son of St. Louis, back here in the stadium as the opposition coach, it's also some great coincidence and a great moment for all of us. But they're at the moment in top form. They are number one in the East, which is probably just as good as being number one in the West. No big differences there. And we want to give them a game. I don't think there is any favorite in this game. I think it's pretty open. It's our house, it's our home, it's our castle. So we wanna walk away with some points in this game. And Cincinnati won't come here to lose that game. So pretty much an open game, and it will be a great hard test for us. I especially now also see a reaction from the boys. We lost the last game here. We also lost in Seattle. I don't want to lose 3 games in a row, to be honest. I don't think anybody in the changing room or up in the training facility wants to lose 3 games either. So it's up to us to change that and get a good result.
Brilliant. Well, that was a fantastic podcast. Thank you to Matt Sebek. Thank you to Lutz Pfannenstiel. We'll hope to have you both on again very soon. And if you're listening to this and you head into the game this weekend, have an absolutely amazing time. Bring the noise. The players appreciate it. Making St. Louis, making them a star on the soccer map around the globe. And if you are listening to this on a podcast, give us a 5-star review. Say something nice about Lutz. Say something nice about Matt's shirt. They'll definitely be reading those. And if you're watching this on Apple TV+, thank you for watching. We'll be back with another episode next week. Ciao for now.